Hello everyone, and welcome back to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Before we dive in, tap subscribe, turn on notifications, and show this video some love so you never miss a moment. Now let's get into today's story, because what unfolded between Barış Baktaş and Yağmur Yüksel has people whispering from set trailers to late-night timelines. It wasn't a scandal, it wasn't a public meltdown, it was something gentler, more disarming, and somehow even more compelling. A heartfelt request, offered carefully by a man who realized his relationship needed room to breathe. According to sources close to the couple, Barış approached Yağmur with an ask that many headlines tried to inflate into drama. The reality was the opposite. Last week, the two slipped away to a quiet dinner in a tucked-away corner of Istanbul, choosing dim light and a tucked booth over a scene. They were there to steal a few hours away from the noise. Away from hands that constantly reach for them, away from the steady drum of call times and story meetings. Barış has been carrying the weight of a new project, whispered about as a codename production the industry is calling Kuma, and the stress has been relentless. There, between warm plates and low conversation, he finally said what he had been keeping inside. People who were close enough to witness their table from a distance said the moment was striking not for raised voices but for how calm it was. Barış wasn't trying to start a fight, he was trying to protect what they'd built. He spoke softly, chose his words, and let a little vulnerability show. He told her that he loves her deeply, and that more than anything else he wanted something deceptively simple, more time that belonged only to them. Between back-to-back shoots, long drives to location, flights that erase weekends, and the kind of pressure that turns days into a blur, he felt a quiet space forming where closeness once lived. He didn't want to watch that space widen. He wanted to close it with presence. "Let's slow this pace, even just a touch," he said, voice low enough to be private, honest enough to be unforgettable. He asked for time that wasn't carved out between alarms, time that didn't get bargained away to the next commitment. He wanted evenings where they didn't fall asleep with scripts in their hands, mornings that weren't swallowed by calls and plans before breakfast ended, and something to look forward to every single week that told both of them they mattered more than the machine they fed. If anyone worried how Yağmur would take this, the answer arrived in the way she responded. People who know her say she has a calm strength. When she's with Barış, it softens again. She smiled, one of those small, tender smiles that changes the air, and she reached across the table to take his hand. According to a friend who spoke after, she told him that he was right. She admitted she sometimes disappears into the tidal pull of work, not because she wants to escape him, but because ambition and responsibility can be demanding companions. Being beside him, she said, brings a kind of peace she can't find anywhere else. She told him she heard him, fully and completely, and that she wanted the same thing, more hours that belonged only to them. Of course, the tabloids framed it as a jaw-dropping demand, the kind of headline that wants to sell you shock. But when you strip away the noise, it was just two people, two famous people, yes, but still people, taking care of their bond. It was a conversation not about ultimatums, but about intention. Their acceptance of one another in that moment said more than any splashy post ever could. Friends have quietly mentioned that this isn't the first time Barış brought up concern over how hard both of them have been pushing. For months, he's watched Yağmur pile intense obligations into her schedule, just as he has with his own, and the pattern drew a line through their days. His request wasn't punishment or pressure. It was something more tender, a way of saying, let's make us the headline in our own lives. Let's be the priority that everything else has to work around. Those who know them best say he has been careful, steady, and patient, letting this conversation arrive when both of them were ready to truly hear it. Online, fans noticed the difference in tone. Instead of heated speculation about a rift, most comments praised the maturity of the exchange. People called it real love. The kind that doesn't need to be performed for the crowd. There were threads where followers wrote about how rare it is to see a couple in the public eye choose communication over chaos, and how quietly romantic it is to ask for time. Grand gestures are easy, one fan wrote. Consistency is harder. And that, it seems, is exactly what they're leaning toward. Insiders also say the couple didn't just leave that dinner with promises, they left with a plan. Word is that Barış suggested a short escape to Bodrum, the kind of trip where the days stretch out and the water feels like an exhale. He didn't want it to be a photo shoot or a planned spectacle. He wanted stillness, sunrise walks, and nights where the only soundtrack was the sea. "Let's just be ourselves there," he reportedly told her. "Let's rest, really rest." Those close to Yağmur say she looked at her packed calendar and did something rare, she moved things around for herself. If all goes as planned, the two will vanish for a few days very soon, and for once not to film, just to live. But that isn't the end of the story. Behind the curtain, something deeper has been taking shape in Barış's mind. People in their circle say that his wish for more time wasn't just a single fix, it came with a bigger idea, small rituals, lovingly protected, woven into their week. He wants structure for their connection, not so it becomes rigid, but so it becomes steady. A close friend shared that he's been talking about simple routines with a surprising amount of feeling, nightly walks through their neighborhood when the city grows hushed, evenings where they cook together, not for a post, but for the pleasure of chopping and stirring and tasting beside each other, pockets of time when both phones go off, not on silent, but away altogether, so the only conversation is the one they're having in that room. These might sound like small things. That's exactly the point. He believes the little habits are what give a relationship its warmth when the calendar grows cold. He wants their weeks to carry signatures that belong to them, reminders that their love is not an event but a practice. People who have heard him talk this way say he isn't just trying to fix a busy month, he's thinking long-term. He is seeing the path ahead with a clarity that caught even his closest friends off guard. The more you listen to those around them, the more you hear a thread. Barış has been telling friends that he feels lucky. Lucky to love a woman whose light only gets stronger, lucky that she understands ambition without resenting closeness, lucky that when life pushes them toward the edges, they both step back to the middle. Some even say they've heard him murmur the sentiment aloud after late nights, "I can't believe I get to do this with her." It isn't a press quote, it isn't a caption. It's the kind of thing you say when the lights are low and the honesty is high. All of this leads to the question that sends comment sections humming. Is this the prelude to something more official? When a man begins carving out rhythms for a shared life, people notice. When he starts talking about the silence and the ordinary moments with this much care, some wonder if he's training his heart for forever. No one close to them has confirmed anything concrete. There are no dates circled in red, no whispered venues, no carefully planned surprises that have reached our ears. But the bond between them does feel different now, stronger, yes, and also more deliberate. Especially in recent weeks, as Yağmur's schedule became a whirlwind, witnesses say he showed up with extra attention, rides home at odd hours, warm food delivered to long sets, messages that arrived not as a task, but as a tender check-in. None of it flashy. All of it meaningful. It might be why their story has quietly become one of the week's most discussed topics. Not because anyone stormed out of a room or unfollowed anyone in a dramatic midnight move, but because they gave the public something rarer, evidence of two people fighting not each other, but for each other. Conversations like these can be difficult to have even in private homes. Having them while the city watches takes a different kind of courage. That dinner in Istanbul sits at the heart of it. People who were there still talk about the details because the details tell the truth. The way the server set down a small candle and neither of them blew it out, letting it burn quietly as if to say, "We're going to let this have its time." The way he leaned in, elbows off the table, respect in his posture. The way she listened, not waiting for her turn to speak, but absorbing the weight of what he was giving her. And then the smallest thing? A shared laugh at something only they could hear, the laughter that slips in after relief. That's the sound a relationship makes when it decides to keep going. You can see how the stress built up to that moment. The new project has demanded everything from Barış, early call times, late-night planning, and the pressure that comes when the narrative hinges on your shoulders. For Yağmur, this season brought its own storm. Auditions, brand commitments, relentless appearance requests, and a string of days that leave you tired in your bones. When two calendars get that full, love has to become intentional. It can't just be assumed anymore, it has to be scheduled, protected, and enjoyed with the same dedication they bring to work. Fans have felt that truth in their own lives, which might be why the public reaction has been so warm. People aren't looking at a perfect couple. They're looking at a real couple. They're looking at two people who want to keep choosing each other, and who are smart enough to know that choice doesn't happen by accident. It happens in the blocked-off weeknight, in the cup of tea delivered without being asked, in the message that says, "I saw the sunset and thought of walking with you." Those are not grand gestures. They are the fabric of a shared life. If they do make it to Bodrum, the plan is for the days to be slow. No stylists, no planned outfits, just sunscreen, sandals, and the kind of casual clothes that make it easy to breathe. Mornings starting with the soft rise of the sun over the water, afternoons stretched across loungers where pages turned slowly, evenings marked by the clink of glasses and the hum of the cicadas. They want the kind of rest that doesn't just fill your energy back up, but invites you to remember why you wanted to be together in the first place. And those weekly rituals? Imagine them now, waiting on the near horizon. Tuesday night pasta. Friday sunset walks. Sunday morning late breakfasts where the only meeting is with each other. There will be weeks that resist, weeks that demand everything, but plans like these give love a place to return to when the world grows demanding again. So while the headlines tried to serve this up as shock, the inside of the story is something softer. A couple loved by audiences across the country sat down in a quiet corner and chose to speak honestly. Barış asked for time. Yağmur said yes. Friends nodded because they've seen the care building. Fans smiled because it felt like truth. And for once, the most compelling thing about a celebrity love story wasn't a twist, it was clarity. We'll be watching, of course. If they slip away for that Bodrum escape, if the small rituals begin to take root, if the path ahead narrows from noise into something more official, we'll be here to share it with you. Until then, let this be the reminder their story offers: in a world loud with demands, love often needs something quiet. It needs a table in a corner, two people leaning in, and a promise that time, real time, will always be worth asking for. Thanks for watching Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you're the first to know when the next chapter in the Barış Baktaş and Yağmur Yüksel story reveals itself. Until then, take care, and hold tight to the moments that keep your own love close.